Welcome to the Jeff Knows Inc. Entrepreneurial Podcast with your host, Jeff Lopes. Jeff has over 2 decades experience as a serial entrepreneur, building brands like Kimura from his home basement to a multi-million-dollar global brand that has sold over 250,000 pairs of boxing gloves. Jeff's here to educate, guide, and drive you on the process of bringing your ideas and dreams to reality with the inspiring stories from some of the top business minds.
Welcome to episode number 7 of the Jeff Knows Inc. podcast. I'm your host, Jeff Lopes. Today we have a special guest, Adam Jablin. Adam is an entrepreneur, a storyteller, an author, a motivational speaker, and all around just an amazing individual. I had the pleasure to have on our podcast today. Adam comes from a 3rd generation of entrepreneurs with an amazing family story that you guys are all going to be engaged listening to today. We're also going to dive into 14 years of sobriety, how Adam's dedicated his life journey to changing the lives of others. This is going to be a fun podcast. Sit back and enjoy. We are live. We're here with Adam. Adam, you want to say hi to everyone?
Hey guys, how's everyone doing?
This is an interesting little segue or how we started off today. Adam wasn't even supposed to be on our podcast today. Just we met through social media this morning. I saw that Adam's a huge Superman fan. Great story behind his business life and some other stuff we're going to get into today. And I thought, let me reach out to Adam, and one thing after another. And here we are already after a few hours on our live podcast. So I'm pretty excited about it. So Adam, let's start off. Let's get to know you a bit. So let everybody get to know who you are and where you came from.
So Jeff, first off, thank you for having me on the podcast. I appreciate it. That's kind of funny how that all just fell into place. My name is Adam Jablin. You can find me on Instagram. Right now, I am a coach, best-selling author, and a speaker. This is the 2nd chapter of my life. I just sold, and I'd like to say we just sold, our family business that was started in 1948. We just sold it, literally turned over the keys to the building March 1st.
Oh, this is so fresh still, huh?
Oh, this is so fresh. This is so fresh. I am 14 years clean and sober. Well, hold on. I'm coming up on 14 years clean and sober. July 14th, 2006 is my sobriety date.
That's
my
awesome.
Recovery is a big.
Congratulations on that, buddy.
Thank you, bro. I appreciate it. My recovery is a big part of my story. I'm a father. I'm a husband.
How many children do you have?
Yeah, I have a 14-year-old daughter and a 10-year-old boy.
This is, okay, interesting. I have my daughter. My daughter turns 14 tomorrow, and my son just turned 12.
Wow. Okay, and you said you were 43 as well.
43. Oh, you're 43 as well. So 77. 77, baby.
I'm 76. So my birthday is May 19th.
Daughter's just coming up May 9th right now.
Taurus.
Yeah.
Taurus.
Very, very cool. Very, very cool. So
let's go as deep as you want in any direction you want.
No, it's cool. Okay, let's dig a little deeper into, I guess, your family business. That's something we started talking before the podcast went live, and I'd love to hear more about them and let everybody know more where you came from, how it all started, and all that.
Sure. I'm going to try to make a really, really long, dramatic story as short as possible.
Let's do it.
If that's possible. Okay, so my grandfather became partners and took over a company called Stern and Stern, which eventually became Norwood Knitting Mills in Norwood, New Jersey. And my grandfather not only was a captain in the Navy, but he became a captain of industry. All the skill sets, the disciplines, the dedication to rise up the ranks in World War II, parlay to business, and he's still my number one mentor and fan to this day. You know,
and you said this is your grandpa?
This is my grandfather.
Yeah, we have very similar stories, which is pretty awesome. Because the only entrepreneur in my family tree is my grandfather.
Wow.
And he was an extraordinary entrepreneur. He's obviously not with us any longer, but he was my inspiration in being an entrepreneur. Like I always say, I kind of got a little part of his DNA in me. And through our whole family, everybody's 9 to 5, hardworking families, but I was the only one that said, I've never worked for no one my whole life, right? I started off in my 18, 19, let's do this. So it's awesome you're hearing that. It's kind of we're very, very similar paths in that direction.
That's awesome. I love hearing that. In the 80s, this is where the story gets a little crazy. The unions got very, very powerful. As a matter of fact, so the story that the movie that was just on Netflix with De Niro and Pesci and Al Pacino with Hoffa, that whole thing kind of bled into our family. That whole era bled into our family business. Now we treat our employee. Go ahead.
Where was the business based out of?
So we had, my grandfather lived in a brownstone in Manhattan. The business was based out of Norwood, New Jersey, and we had like a sister company called Hope Industries in Nashua, New Hampshire.
Oh, very cool. Okay.
Now I'm a kid in this story right now. I'm a kid. Let's say it's 1984, 85.
Yeah.
So I'm about 10, 11 years old, something like that. And the union's power got extremely powerful, bully-like. And we treat our employees like gold, like rock stars. They didn't even like what the unions were, were forcing them to do. They didn't sign up for it, but they had to. They were with the union.
Yeah.
I want to make this story less dramatic and to the point. My grandfather...
Make it dramatic, buddy. Let's go with the flow.
My grandfather had some family connections, Italian family connections in New York.
Yeah.
He asked for a favor. The unions backed off. The New Jersey family did not necessarily like that the New York family got involved. The New York family had to back off. The union came full force and angrier to the point that there was violence now around my grandfather's company. And one day, and so this is 1984, 85. So this is before cell phone.
Of course. Yeah.
You know what I mean? So one day my grandfather gets a call that my father wasn't going to make it home that night. My father had worked himself up to be the vice president of the company. And it just so happens that there was massive traffic on the George Washington Bridge. And my father didn't show up for like come home for about 4 or 5 hours. And that 4 or 5 hours of just absolute pain, anguish, terror. Did I do this to my son? Fear. Is Bobby dead? Made my grandfather go, none of this is worth it. None of it. When my father came home, he felt like that was a sign. Enough was enough. He closed the factory, but this is where Madonna was at her peak. So Madonna in the 80s was wearing lace all over the place, and lace was flying off the racks. You couldn't make enough of it. Yeah. Your business was booming. So my grandfather was able to sell the machinery for more money than it was ever worth.
Let's step back a quick second.
Sure.
I guess to the listening audience, the company was based around making lace.
I apologize. Yeah. Our conversation before. So our family business was based on designing and manufacturing Rochelle lace knitting. So basically the laces that one would see in Victoria's Secrets, La Perla, some wedding dresses, lower items that you could find in Sears, all the way up to hanky panky. That was us.
Perfect. Okay.
That was us. So my grandfather, I apologize. I should have been clear with the audience. I forgot. So my grandfather sells the machinery for more money than they're ever worth. He does well. And my father, who is a 36-year-old businessman now, who also, by the way, his heart and his love and his passion is being a cowboy. He literally grew up he didn't grow up on a ranch. There was a ranch a few blocks away in Queens, and my father was just drawn to he just came out of the womb being a cowboy, the way you and I came out of the womb in love with Superman. You can't understand what that calling is. You can't, but he is a cowboy. I mean, he went to Colorado State full ride on the rodeo team.
Oh, seriously?
Oh, yeah.
That's a pretty awesome story.
That is a cowboy, but also the most fearless, deadly businessman I've ever seen in my life. Ever. Not my mentor. My grandfather's my mentor. My father,
so the entrepreneurship ran through the bloodlines.
It ran through the bloodlines, but my father is a different animal. He's a different animal. I just don't even know how to say it. He.
Is your father till this day still an entrepreneur?
Well, look, when we sold the company, he's now on several boards, but he's retired and happy in Aspen. He lives in Aspen, Colorado, rides his horses, gives business ideas and guides people and mentors a couple of people. He's calmed down over the years, but I knew him as my father.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
You know what I mean? I knew him as my father. I'm more sensitive, emotional, wanting love. My dad is way more, even though my hero's Michael Jordan, he's way more like the real Michael Jordan. And that's difficult as a father.
Yeah, of course.
You admire it when it's your basketball hero, but when that person's raising you, it's
the expectations, his pressure is always at different rise level.
Make him happy. I can have that plant running at 95% efficiency.
He's not happy.
Money hand over fist, and he sees where we can get better.
Yeah, it's interesting you're saying that. I have certain traits like that, and maybe that's how I'm driven too. So it's funny you're saying that. I'm very. I always seem to try to look at a way to make something better. I almost never. I find happiness in my family, and obviously in the loves of my wife and kids and stuff. But when it comes to business, and when it comes to growing something or developing something, I'm never happy. And that's, I guess, as a personal business wise trait, it's helped me get to where I am. Right? It just drives me every sinsingle day. I wake up and I'm like, I'm at 1 a.m. working and thinking, you know what? Is this worth it? Yeah, it is, because I know my competitor's not doing this, what I'm doing right now, right? So that kind of drives me in that direction, right?
I think it's a beautiful thing. I didn't realize that I had it too. I think what happens is when something's actually your passion, and then you try to make somebody else, be an employee or a child, have that same love for it, it gets confusing, and it creates tension, because the one that has the passion can't understand why that other person doesn't have the same drive. And the one that wants to make the other person happy doesn't understand what they're doing wrong.
That's, you just hit the nail with the hammer on the head right there. That's exactly like I'm as you're saying that, I'm thinking my own life, certain situations in my own life, which is pretty awesome. I'm not going to get into it, but yeah, that's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
So let's go back to your story. Okay. So
yeah. So my father decides to open up a modern lace manufacturing facility, because that's all he knows now. And we moved to Boca Raton, Florida, because it's a non-union state. He could have his horses, and it's 2 hours from Manhattan by the Garment District. So it's really no big deal.
No big deal. Drive away. Yeah.
No big deal. And so my father takes the risk, takes out a big loan, and where my grandfather was Joe Montana, my father becomes Tom Brady.
Interesting.
He did it. He really fucking did it. And I'm super proud of my father.
So in this process, what was your grandfather's business is still running in New Jersey and Manhattan?
No, he closes it because of the union scare. He sold the machines. He's out. That scare.
Yeah.
It didn't, I think when it's not a movie, and it's the reality of, some of the most powerful people, some of the most deadliest people, and no matter what, you're really in the thick of it. And all you really want to do is run a lace manufacturing company. And
it's a wake-up call.
It's a major wake-up call, because he certainly wasn't trying to pull any punches either. Now, a big part of this story that I should tell you, because I'm so proud of it, and I'm proud of how all of this ended, was 95% of the employees from New Jersey that were with the union moved down to Florida with us.
Oh, that's a wonderful.
So we had an operation ready to rock and roll. Yeah,
that's awesome. So from what year was that in when your dad opened the business there? That was 84, 85?
That is now 86.
86. Until this day, is the business still running? Or this is the one you guys just sold?
That's the one we just sold.
That's awesome.
That's the one we just sold.
So how did you get involved after? Let's get into that part.
Okay, so it was always, look, I never want to sell my parents out like it's some sad story. It's not a sad story. You just have to realize sometimes when a family makes it, they want to take care of their children and they want to make sure that they're safe. My grandfather before the lace business was a pharmacist. If he didn't create this thing and have some sort of legacy to pass to my dad, I don't know, my dad may be a rancher, a cowboy making $50,000 a year. Yeah. And now we're in the entrepreneurship space and we're making a lot of money. And I think they just saw the next generation come and they didn't want them to worry. And they saw, they just saw me as, maybe the Jablin Messiah. And it was just, this is what we are. This is what you do. There was one time when my father was offered quite a bit of money. I still don't know the real number. And I'm 13 or 14 years old in Boca Raton, Florida. And he was seriously contemplating it. Now, I'm seeing this out of a 13-year-old child,
Of course, yeah.
So please don't, I'm sure if you could go into my dad's eyes and you go into my mom's eyes, everybody's perception was a tiny bit different, but still the same story. And my parents asked me, and I'm sure what they're trying to do is weigh out what was worth it for them. Like, does my dad cash out now at 38 years old? And they asked me, would I want to go into the business and take over the business one day? And
they actually asked you that at 13?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome. Okay.
Yeah. And I knew exactly what they wanted to hear.
Yeah, of course.
I had my people-pleasing skills on maximum. And I just said, yeah, of course. And I just had no idea what I did. I had no idea. That was a commitment that,
it went on for, 13. So you're looking at 20, 30 years?
Yeah.
30 years.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you have to also look at Adam is that kind of molded you as a person, right? And is probably through the good and bad. You never want to change your past. You look at it and you learn from it, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So let's try to fast forward so I can get now, instead of my grandfather's story and my father's story, into my story.
Yeah, of course.
I'm blessed with certain skills, just naturally, charisma with people. I have a lot of, maybe too much empathy. I used to think now what we all consider a superpower was weakness because my father was a fucking killer. And I have this heart, and I was the guy, like I would box, I would fight. And after I would, and I was good. And once I would hit the guy hard, I would show the guy what I did. Or when I was playing football and I hit the guy and I would help him up, my coach would yell at me, let him down, leave him down. And I couldn't do it. And I used to think that there was some sort of girly, feminine part in me. And I'm wired, not that there's anything wrong with how you're wired, but I'm wired straight. I like women. And I just felt soft. Let me tell you, I'm sure my dad, if he knocked somebody down, he wouldn't pick anybody else up either. Like just more macho, more man-like. And I had these matters of the heart that I was wrestling with. And I go to Arizona State University because it's a #1 party school, which it was, and dominated there and had great time and still have best friends from there. And alcoholism and addiction start entering my life.
And that was in your early 20s at this point?
Early 20s. Then I go into the family business because I committed to that. I never even dared to dream. I never even dared to what I could do, what would I want to do. There was none of that. This is who I am. This is what we do. That's just the Jablin motto. Watch the family store. You take care of the business takes care of you. And I came into a time where what my father and grandfather had created was now much more of a production facility. There was no need for charisma. There was no need for human contact. This was an operation. And I had to start from the ground as a janitor up.
So they made you work up the ladder. So was there, at this point, the company, like I said, it was more production. So you were manufacturing for other brands at this point?
Only other brands. We were a contract knitter, like a contract killer.
Yeah. So almost like a coal packer in the food industry.
Absolutely, 100%. And now looking back, I value everything that I had learned, everything from inventories, yarn inventory, setting up the machines, what it takes to operate the plant, all of my employees that I won over, their trust, their love.
How many employees did you guys have at your peak?
At our peak, we were about 120.
So good operation. Good size
operation. It was a nice operation. Well, wait, 120 and 50. No, we were 170 because we had 2 operations at one time. So we had, and that was at a time that we had probably about 70 plus machines. And over time, that went down to about 52 machines. That's what the marketplace really needed, and about 70 employees. 3 shifts, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
So one thing we kind of aired on before, we were talked on before the air, is not coming up with your own design, your own brand. Is that something you regret, not coming up with your own design, your own brand, considering you had everything in your hands right there?
There was a lot I wanted to do, but it came down to there were many, and I wonder if he watches this one day, because he'll be like, he'll shake his head. Yes, there were many father-son fights.
Yeah, of course.
And he ended every argument, because I was very respectful. I never was disrespectful to my father, and he would end every argument as in like it was the end all be all, right? He would end every argument like this, ready? He'd look at me like this and look around, go, think I did pretty fucking good. And it's like watching you, like with Michael Jordan, you have a new idea and he's showing you his 6 banners. Like, what do you say?
Yeah.
What do you say? Yeah. Okay. Well, over time that, the old dog new tricks unfortunately did start to happen in the family business, because our customers started dying and manufacturing in the United States started dying.
Yeah,
rapidly.
Of course. Yeah. Everything started going overseas.
Everything went overseas. And it came down to a point where we were down to basically 2 customers.
Large customers, I'm hoping?
Large, but, look, 30-day terms change into 60-day terms, 60-day terms change into 90-day terms, 90-day terms change into 180-day terms.
Yeah, the manufacturing industry is a hard industry to
it's
master.
Really difficult. We're paying our yarn suppliers in 30 days. They don't want to hear it, and we become a bank to our 2 main customers. So, we become a bank to our 2 main suppliers. We start creating as much as we can now, but at the same time, there's nobody really out there. Anyway, trying to make a long story short, I rise up the ranks, and really my employees love me, and I fell in love with my employees. And, when business gets slow, you know this better than anyone. When business gets slow, you take every single call. Right.
You're saying that right now as a brand right now with my main company, Kimura, where we manufacture, and like I said, our own line of boxing martial art equipment. We were running about 96% rate at wholesale. So our customer base is gyms. So when the gyms all closed due to COVID-19,
yeah,
it was just all of a sudden a shock. Like, hey, we went through the first time in 15 years almost, where we're getting minimal 10 wholesale orders a day to 0, the next day 0. So I had to lay off my staff here. And I actually turned our office phone to my cell phone. And this is the first time in 10 years, I'm answering all the calls again. I'm packing, receiving. You're taking a step back, but you got to do what you got to do. Is hustle, right? So you got to hustle to survive. That's all it is.
It's hustle. And in my 23 years, I went through a lot of those. I mean, there was the crash in 2008. We went through that. 9/11 affected our business, believe it or not, getting things overseas. There's been a lot of trials and tribulations that I've experienced over 23 years, but I'm going to try to get to the end, and we could talk about all of those, which is, when business gets weird and quiet, you take every call. And, Amazon has its place now. They're a monster. And I mean that in a very respectful, loving way. Yeah. And brick and mortar is dying. And women,
and this COVID has just a small businesses right across North America. This COVID-19 this put the nail in the coffin for a lot of small businesses.
And women's, and I don't want to say rights. I wish I had a better voice than that. I should be speaking to a woman that would give me better lingo. But women have taken a stand with the Me Too movement, and part of that stand was we're not sex objects. They're against Victoria's Secret's the runway shows. So fashion started getting a little weird.
Yeah.
And we were in the middle of a vicious cycle of like, what's going on? And you take every call because we're hustlers, like you said, and we had whittled down and everything we can. and we take a phone call that somebody's interested in the real estate and the buying the building. When you're like, okay, so what I'm doing right now to anyone listening, I'm pretending that Jeff and I are like in a tunnel, just eye to eye. When you're like this, focusing on the business, doing everything you can to make the business work, you're not really looking at what you own and at what the real estate is worth. It's not on your mind. We had no idea that the commercial real estate in Boca Raton, Florida, for 100,000 square foot mint operation on 5 acres right by I-95 was worth what it was worth. And
so when you guys, this is fast forwarding to now, just, you said just past March, this past March, you said?
Yeah, past March.
So you sold the building. Did you sell the company as well, or just the building?
Pieces. So the building to one guy, wonderful guy. We sold quite a bit of the machinery to a company in Brooklyn, which also now took our name. Our name was Metrotech. We gave them Metrotech North, and my father is on the board there.
Oh, very cool.
He's on the board, and we sold the machinery on the market.
So completely.
And Jeff, I got every single one of our employees a job.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome.
Every single one.
That's pretty awesome. I mean, that's something to be proud of. Be very, very proud of.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna jump into something.
Please.
You touched into, and we talked a tad a bit about your past when you said when you're in Arizona, you slipped into the alcohol world.
Yeah.
Sobriety. You've been for now how many years now?
Yeah, so almost 14. July 14th, 2006 is my sobriety date.
Which is amazing. Congratulations on that.
Thank you, bro. That means a lot. It means a lot. It's a big part of who I am. And getting sober is what really unleashed. You know that thing with Superman that you and I like? Remember when he breaks free of chains? That's exactly what happened to me when I got sober. And my alcoholism and addictions, the business was a big part of it. The pressure of not being able, am I going to be able to be my grandfather? Am I going to be able to be my father? I fall in love with a woman who's my wife. And
how many years you been married now for?
We will be married. We're married 18 years.
Okay. So I'm going on to 17.
Yeah. So we're really like same journey, similar journey. I fall in love with a woman, with my wife, that doesn't like my drinking. One day even says, I'm not going to marry an alcoholic. And I look at her like she's crazy, because I think an alcoholic is like a bum on the streets of Manhattan, mumbling to himself, petting a cat that's not there with a brown bag,
Yeah.
I didn't know about my alcoholism and addiction. I just thought I could party hard. I just thought I could drink with the best of them.
Yeah.
And this is in 2006. My best friend falls head over heels in love with my sister. She's not really in love with him, but she kind of wants the family for him to be in the family. They get married. That was a very weird situation and really hard for me to internalize. And I had no coping skills, Jeff. And my grandmother, if you remember, I said my grandfather is my mentor.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
My grandmother, who was my angel, dies in my arms, and I'm dealing with death for the first time. And at this point, this is when I call God, or a higher power decides that I'm going to stop allowing alcohol to work for Adam, meaning I could drink, Jeff, as much as I wanted. Okay. I could drink. You would see I was intoxicated. You would see but I couldn't shut that part of my brain off. That was the constant anxiety, thinking, worrying. You're not as good as your dad. You're not as good as your grandfather. Yeah. You're just a guy that lifts weights that does nothing with his body. You're not Superman. You're a loser. You're over and over. And I would drink. Normally I could drink and that voice would leave and happy-go-lucky Adam would show up, the guy that you knew from years ago. But I couldn't shut him up. No amount of Xanax, no amount of Ambien, no amount of painkillers, nothing could shut the voice up. Nothing.
How long did this last?
Well, my alcoholism.
Not your alcoholism, but I mean that situation when you got to the point where it's like, okay, this is getting really bad.
Yeah, I would say so. My grandmother dies, and it was about a year. My daughter was born, and I mean this. Listen, children are the biggest, as you know.
Yeah,
They're
100%.
the biggest blessing in our lives. And my children are they are my everything. However,
Your purpose.
they're my purpose. However, I lived in some sort of movie in my head, and I thought when I had a daughter, I would stop. I would just be relieved of these shenanigans, and I thought it was puppies and sunshine and Disney World, and I didn't know it was baby monitors and worrying and formula and baby gates and not sleeping, and you know what I mean. And I I had to grow up. And
you can read every book, you can listen to every advice in the world. Nothing prepares you for parenthood. It just happens when it lands in your lap. You deal with it.
yeah. Well, I know. So well said. And and also at the same time, I'm this guy that's driven like you and my father, where I'm not going to miss a baby. I'm not going to miss anything. So
Yeah.
I'm taking amphetamines, and then I'm drinking. I'm a mess. Amphetamines to wake up, Ambien and alcohol to go to sleep, Xanax during the day, pre-workouts before my workout, and those things used to literally be so geeked out. I mean, you may as well have done cocaine before you took that stuff.
Yeah, pre-workout stuff. Yeah, it's insane.
Oh my God. And I was up and down and up and down. And finally my beloved body that I used to just take such good care of, and I thought I was taking care of in the gym and eating right, it started backfiring on me, and I couldn't control it. I couldn't control what was going on, and I lost all control. My wife had the courage to plan an intervention on me. And in that intervention, I surrendered. I fought a little bit, not fight but
Yeah, of course. You question it.
Question, like 28 days. Where am I going to go? 28 days? Like, what are you talking about? Who's going to be me for 28 days?
Yeah.
Who's going to run the show who's going to run the factory? Who's going to, you know what I mean? And they're like, don't worry about it. Everyone's like, don't worry about it. And that's a very humbling thing when you're like, everybody wants a timeout from you, from your own life.
Yeah. But it's also very humbling that you have the support there too.
Yeah, 100%. And in treatment, I came in a little bit with this that Jeff dad mentality of, I'm going to be the most dedicated, disciplined alcoholism and addiction patient that they've ever seen. And within a few days, they're going to see there's nothing wrong with me. It's my family.
Yeah.
It's the pressure. It's the family business. It's the new baby. It's my wife is nagging. There's nothing wrong with Adam. And it backfired. And I started realizing I'm an alcoholic.
Where, do you mind me asking where you went?
No, not at all. The Hanley Center in South Florida.
Okay, very cool.
Saved my life. Place saved my life.
You were there for 28 days?
28 days. First 9 days, though, Jeff, were torture because I was fighting it.
Yeah, of course.
And I had a spiritual experience in there, which really felt more like a panic attack. I now look at it back on it and had psychological, people explain this to me, but, part of my ego was dying, and it felt like a panic attack. But that was the day I really, really understood and accepted that I was an alcoholic and an addict. And I called my wife and told her, hey, listen, I got some bad news, but I have to stay. Like, I've got to stay. Like, this is real. I kept saying that this is real. This is real. That's why I kept. And she started laughing on the phone and said, I was never going to come pick you up. I started realizing that I live in this world of denial.
Yeah.
Adam can't do 28 days. Adam has to go to the gym. Adam has to run the company. Adam. And I saw myself like there was two of me. And one, I could have gotten back on the phone and been like, listen, get in the car, pick my ass up. I don't want to hear anymore. Just that angry, frustrated, alcoholic kid. And then the other one was sober. And I didn't know if that meant I had to be religious. I didn't know if I had to wear a yarmulke, be baptized, believe in God. I didn't know what it looked like. I didn't know if I had to lose all my money, but I knew he was sober. And I jumped into that guy with both feet. And Jeff, I've never been the same.
Best thing you probably ever did.
Best thing ever. It helped the family business. And it brought out all the skills that I have in me now, that not just the family business and everything I had to learn running a company, but my 14 years in sobriety and the speaking and the writing and the helping tons and tons of men and women recover. It brought out a skill set in me that I love helping people now. I love coaching. I love mentorship. I just fucking love it.
So I saw a post you had written, I guess just a little quote, and it said, "Never be a prisoner of your past. It's just a lesson in a life sentence." You want to bring? When I read that, I was like, that. I read it twice, and it just clicked in. I just want you to give me your mindset of what you mean by that.
Well, sure. Look, I could be a prisoner. This is the way I'd like to decode that, so I don't just say the same words over.
Yeah.
What I was really saying is there are no victims. It's a victim mentality.
I'm going to jump in there quickly. That's one thing I say to people all the time, and it's almost a pet peeve. Is I can't stand when people play the victim card. Why me? Why is this happening to me? Why am I going through this? Just suck it up and deal with it, and get yourself out of it. Don't rely on other people to almost guide your path, kind of thing. Like, you got to create your own path and stop playing the victim card all the time. And I just had this conversation with my wife the other day. I'm not going to give names, but we have friends of ours that very successful person. But they're always playing the victim card. Anything goes wrong, it's constantly the victim card. And you just don't even want to be around that person. You just get that negative drive around them all the time.
No, I agree. And listen, I think sometimes when I was telling my story earlier to you and we were sharing, sometimes I like to play out like an alternate universe. I know how that pressure felt, but like, what would have happened? What would have happened if I'm in Arizona State and I tell my dad, listen, I found something that I love to do. Okay, how long would they have really, really stayed upset with me? A year?
Probably, be honest, probably less. Probably 6 months,
right.
5 months.
But to me, I'm disowned.
Yeah.
And so, so for years there, my alcoholism addiction was with a victim mentality. Oh, I told them at 13 I had to work. I was the victim of my own story. I was and I didn't know it.
There's a beautiful lesson to be learned by everything you're saying. Is you're almost hoping what you went through. There's probably millions of children that have entrepreneur parents that are feeling and going through the same thing. Like, I've turned to my kids and I've said, like, my daughter's a natural entrepreneur. She's the one selling lemonade at the lemonade stand. She's the one making bracelets and going to school and selling to her friends at 7, 8 years old. Like, she's just a hustler. And she's always like, Dad, don't. And I've always looked at exit strategies for a couple of my companies. And my daughter's like, don't sell them. I want to take over the business. And in the back of my head, I'm like, really? Like, when you get to university, when you start creating your own path, do you really want to be working in this industry? Or so it's interesting to hear that, because a lot of children are put in that stress, that anxiety of I gotta follow my parents' footsteps.
Yeah. So I tell my kid, like, so now it's gone, but I told them anyway, like, I back you.
And that's all a parent should be doing, is backing, supporting their children.
You make a decision with your heart and your mind and your God, and you make a decision, and you just know your dad's got your back. Just know your dad's got your back.
I'm going to change topics. How have you guys been you're in Florida still, obviously, right?
Yeah.
How have you guys been with COVID-19, and how's everything running up there, business-wise and all that stuff? Like, how's everything running?
So South Florida was one of the last to take it seriously, which was a shame. But things seem to be okay. Look, this virtual school on kids, and I don't want to sound what's the word? Sexist. My wife decided to take all the teaching on herself. Okay, so, but please know, like, my wife's, I'm sure your wife's the same way, is a fucking go-getter. She's like, you know what I mean? So it sounds really like, oh, she's the, you know what I mean? But it's not like that at all. She wanted to do it. This virtual school is really tough, I think, on the parents and on the kids. And the kids not interacting with their friends all the time. You and I got to play all the time and see our friends. I mean, like, they're in the house.
Yeah, it's hard. It's very, very hard. We have it here we're from Toronto. I'm from Toronto, Canada. In Ontario, we pretty much spent the whole year with a strike system with the Teachers Association. So we were going through every week, either one strike day or one pay day. So our kids had literally, they probably went through maybe a month, 2 months of actually full school this whole school year so far. And I can't see them going back. And with the virtual systems at home and all this, they're not learning. They're not. And it's hard for my daughter. Your daughter went through it, but my daughter, I feel so bad for her. She was looking forward to her grade 8 graduation. She was going to go on a school trip. She was doing all this stuff. Everything was canceled. And now she's going to jump right into high school, not being prepared for it, which is so hard.
It's really crazy how, so as you know, from the way we talk and from me getting sober, I believe in a higher power. Okay. Yeah. And I think there's no coincidence that you and I are on the call, because that's the impact I feel.
Yeah.
Of course I have friends with businesses that are suffering, but like you, I know you're going to make it through this. Yeah. I fucking know it. I put all my chips on you, Jeff, all of them. Do you know what I mean? I'm not saying it's going to be fun, but you'll make it through it. But the kids
are the ones that are suffering now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So same as you is really the answer.
Where do you see yourself? Okay, you know what? Let's get back. If you could look at your past, and obviously you guided through your family business. If you had the opportunity to do a different path, was there one thing you've always wanted to do, or you wish you did career-wise, or some path? It could be sports. It's something you dreamed of as a young kid.
I hate to say it, but I'm doing it now. I just didn't know what it was.
That's awesome.
I think Tony Robbins is really the one that brought the whole term coaching into the space. But I always saw myself as somebody helping somebody. So I didn't know maybe if that was a trainer, but I loved, and at the same time, I like that when my voice is heard. So if I'm speaking on a stage, or you and I doing a podcast together, that it's heard for a reason of helping someone, not as a look at me type talk.
Yeah.
I'm being heard because I have something to offer you. I'm not being heard because I want to tell you how great I am. I'm telling you actually how broken I was, and I made it out of that. And I know if you feel anything like me,
there's hope.
Or I did. And you feel sometimes that a Xanax is the answer, or a beer is the answer, or an extra workout is if you feel like there's some form of bad dependency, habit, or addiction in your life that's going to destroy you, if you can't see the green button to try to go for your own fucking goals, I can help you.
Very cool.
Because I know that voice. I know that voice all too well in the head. I'm dear friends with it now.
If you could give some words of advice to a young entrepreneur, knowing your history with your grandfather, your father, what they went through and what they did, what advice would you give them?
My advice would be, and it's corny.
Not so good.
So I'll try to break it down of what I really mean, so it doesn't sound so fucking cheesy. Is be yourself, meaning. It's great to model yourself after certain people. I get that. I still shoot a basketball and sometimes put my tongue out after years of just wanting to be Mike. It's good to model yourself. But if you're going into any situation, if they want to work for Jeff, but they're not themselves, Jeff is actually going to meet some person that is not the real them. And their whole life is putting on a mask, trying to get the approval and the attention and the validation from other people. And what they're really doing is, I'm trying to make myself be what I think you want me to be. And then they're trapped. If you could just be yourself from the get-go.
Yeah. Oh, it's simple, sweet, but true.
Yeah. Because it's a trap. It's a Jeff, it's a trap.
100%.
If you meet an employee and you love this employee and they're making you proud, and you're like, man, I could see myself even mentoring this man or woman, But all of a sudden you start realizing that they're just ordering the same food you order. They happen to just like the same bands you like, and they like, and you're like, wait a sec, like who's the real person here?
Yeah.
Who's the real you? Because eventually they're going to have a meltdown because that other person's dying to come out, dying. And that's, listen, one of the people I coach right now just got his MD. He's a heart surgeon. Why am I coaching this person? He's just coming to realize that his whole life, his parents told him that he was going to be a heart surgeon. And he's wrestling with the real him. As a coach, I'm not allowing him not to be the heart surgeon.
No.
He's worked too hard. But he needs to find what now is everyone calls a side hustle or whatever you want to call it.
Or the balance.
A balance. He needs to figure out what makes him happy.
Yeah. Balance is so one thing I'm a true believer in is always finding your balance in your life.
Yeah.
Whether it's working out, whether it's going on hikes, whatever it is, but that balance in your life that you could just pull away from your everyday journey and say, you know what, take a deep breath and let me enjoy this for a bit.
Yeah.
Which is pretty awesome. I have a few things. I want to talk about your 2 books.
Sure.
One of them has a Superman cover, ripping off. Love it. Give me the titles of your books and give me a little insight on both of them.
Sure. So the first book, my memoir, is Lotsaholic, From a Sick to Sober Superman. And it's my story. It's a memoir. And what I really try to do is take the reader on my journey with my own thoughts. You're in my head, and you're also, you go through me working as a highly successful business, high functioning entrepreneur, very, very sick alcoholic and addict, into my denial with the disease, into 28 days of rehab, and what I learn in rehab every day. And what I found on that spiritual journey was I kept thinking to myself, this should be taught to kids. Why is this only because I can afford it and I'm sick? And that was the motivation of writing the book. It wasn't hey, here's me. It was the stuff I was learning did not seem like it should only be for us sickos. And I know so many people, be it if it was at one time Ben Affleck and back in the day Britney Spears, or if it was Robert Downey Jr., I can't tell you how many questions I get about what happens in rehab. What do they do in there? Yeah. How does he come in that and he comes out Iron Man? And so I wrote a book. I take the person on the journey all the way through to 10 years clean and sober. And my second book, Hope is Addictive, Breaking the Addictive Patterns in Life, again, is similar lessons through a much shorter story where the reader can also track it and do it themselves through characters rather than, because what I had found out speaking to a lot of publishing houses is a lot of readers enjoy not just constantly somebody telling them, right?
They want to participate.
They want to participate, and they like being taken through a story.
Yeah.
So in that book, it's actually characters. The main character named Dan Daly has a lot of Dion, who is my spiritual mentor. He's like a spiritual father. He's got a lot of him in him. He's got a lot of me in him. He's got a lot of Superman in him, and he's got a lot of Jesus in him. Yeah. And you put those 4 personalities in one guy, and he's kind of taking a mentee, a sponsee, a kid that's a young man that was around my age, and he's taking him through life steps. Nothing to do with rehab, but it's a natural evolution. It's a much shorter read, because people's attention span is much shorter. And I'm almost done recording Lotsaholic, the audiobook. So that I'm really excited about.
Oh, very cool. Do you have any in the near future? Are you in the process or looking forward to writing some more books?
Yeah, for me, writing is a love-hate thing.
I think one thing I do, and I love doing, and I've done forever. Are you the type with writing? Do you like just grabbing a piece of paper and pen, just jotting your ideas down?
Jeff, I'm like 3 different people, which is so sad to say. My initial concept, yes. My initial draft, yes.
Yeah.
Pen to paper. Then I'd start turning into the computer
Yeah.
Then I go into this process where I'm back and forth between the two. And then eventually, when the first draft starts kind of happening, I turn into just a computer.
Till this day, I still everywhere you look around me, I got a pen and paper. Like I love
Great. Me too.
writing down stuff.
Yeah. No. Me too. I have notebooks everywhere.
Everywhere you look, I got notes. Yeah. Every single day I wake up. I've been doing this for 24 years. I write my do list every single morning. I wake up and I will not start my day without writing a do list.
Yeah.
Start my do list, and whatever's not accomplished that day on that list, I leave it and I forward it to the next day. And that's how my mind progresses. To me, it's just looking at my accomplishments of the day. It gives me priority to what has to be done. And it just keeps the flow of the day. And it's just rewarding. It's like, hey, you know what? I finished the day early. I finished all my tasks. It's like a treat to myself. It's like, wow, pat on the back kind of thing. And I do that every single day.
You're driven. So when I coach people, I make a special calendar for them, in which when they click off what they do, it's manipulative, but kind of like when you start an Instagram page, you start seeing likes. When they click it off, it hits those dopamine centers.
100%, yeah.
So what I'm doing is I'm trying to feed a new habit with hitting their dopamine center, because when you click it, it's a good feeling.
Yeah.
And me and the client are the only two that can see it.
I'm going to finish off with a couple of questions. I've taken quite a bit of your time. First one, this works out perfect. I ask everybody this: if you had one superpower, what would it be?
Oh, come on!
Don't say fly.
No. Super strength.
Super strength.
Yeah, like basically all of his powers, other than because I would choose the super strength for sure. Flying only gets you from here to there fast, and then someone could shoot you and die.
I'm gonna turn back quickly on just give me a little rundown. One thing I could obviously tell by just our conversation, fitness is a big part of your life.
It's huge.
You want to ring a little ring on that part, like how active you are, what do you love doing, why is it so important to you?
Well, yeah. So when I was growing up, I was the heavy kid. I was the fat kid. My dad one night said, "Adam, do you want to watch Rocky with me?" And it was Rocky 3, and I saw Stallone's body, and I was like, "Oh my God, if I could look like that."
Do you know, in my office, I got a full original poster framed of Rocky 4.
That's my favorite.
Rocky 4, the greatest movie ever.
Yeah.
Greatest movie. And you know what's crazy is my son is obsessed with Rocky. My son has watched every Rocky movie about 20 times.
I love him.
Yeah.
I love him. You're a good father. That's all I could say. You're a good father. When I was 16, now get this. As much as I would play with alcohol and drugs, I never took one performance enhancing drug. For that felt like cheating. I would never take steroids or anything like that. I would take ecstasy when I was doing cardio to shred up.
Yeah.
But I would never. I don't know. So that shows you how whacked my head is. Okay. And when I was 16, I did my first bodybuilding competition.
You're kidding, right?
No.
I did bodybuilding competitions as well.
At 20, I won a really big show. And the guy that took me under his wing was like, "Listen, if you want to go to the next level and you have the goods, you're going to have to start." At the time it was just called, juice. It wasn't like steroids.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it was,
I was in the bodybuilding industry for quite a few years, not as a competitor, training. My journey with bodybuilding started when I was, starting high school, 14, 15. I spurted that summer. I was 6'2", 135 pounds.
Huge.
I was tiny. I was 135 pounds. I was skinny as crap.
I heard 235 pounds.
No, 14, 15. I was 135 pounds, 6'2", skinny little runt. And there's a gym right by my high school, and I joined it just to try and gain weight. And I remember walking to the gym every day, grabbing my chocolate milk carton and chugging it down and going to workout. And that's how my journey started. And I did my first competition at 18.
Yeah.
And it's such a shit industry. Such a hard industry.
It's terrible.
Mentally, every bodybuilder in the world is never happy with themselves. Every bodybuilder in the world is in this self-depression all the time because you're just never satisfied. It's just you're not, it's not a healthy lifestyle. All that protein, all that, it's just not a healthy lifestyle at all. No. It's interesting. We're very similar, buddy. Very, very similar.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's great. Two people, if you ever watched their journey, who I feel like really broke free of it, though. Dorian Yates had an amazing transformation. If you ever want to watch that.
You talking about Dorian Yates?
Yeah.
Dorian Yates, a UK guy. Now he does long distance running and stuff.
He's like, he's more to like the spiritual realm and like.
You're talking about the UK guy.
Yeah, the UK guy, like 6 times Mr. Olympia. Yeah.
Yeah.
He transformed himself, which was nice. And obviously, you and I got to see Arnold kind of just turn to. Have you ever seen Ronnie Coleman, his documentary on Netflix? Yeah.
How sad is that?
So sad.
I met him in New York. I actually met him in New York. There was a bodybuilding show in New York every year. I can't remember what the name of the show was. And I actually went to it once.
The New York Pro?
It might be, it's probably the pro show in New York at the theater there. So I went to watch it once. Went back then with my girlfriend, now my wife. And he was signing autographs at the end of the show. And I went and I met him and all this stuff. And it was like, this is unreal superhero, man. The guy was a police officer. And you see this documentary now, and he's like, how sad. His body's destroyed.
I know. But you know what? He's not sad. So we shouldn't be sad for him.
Yeah, I hear you.
He's doing what he can. So
his supplement line's doing well.
Yeah. I mean, listen, exactly. Crazy. So anyway, so you get it. So that these moments lay down permanent casts within myself of who I am. You know what I mean? So staying in shape has always been a priority to me. And now really more than anything, it's for my head.
Yeah. So essentially it's just it's the spiritually and just the physically, I'm not looking at getting big anymore. I'm just looking at just staying healthy, staying fit and being there for my kids' wedding. That's our long-term goals. Right?
Yeah. I still have some vanity. I still like.
Oh, everybody does.
Yeah.
It's the way it is.
But thank you for asking that. Yeah. Thank you for asking that.
I'm going to ask one last, let's drop on one last topic. You said Jordan was a massive part of your, I guess something you looked up to. Have you watched the Last Dance?
Dude, I have a friend that, every episode, I have a friend that was a part of it. So he was giving me bits and pieces before they came out.
It's sick. Watching the mind, the aspect of it, how mentally strong he was, his will, it's insane. Just seeing how he was not the most athletic guy. He was not the fastest. He wasn't. It's just his will. You can't teach that. You cannot teach that. It was in him. It was just his drive was insane.
Yeah. So he made a major impact on my life. I would say the parts of Jordan that come out of me the most as someone that was a figure in my life and he didn't know he was a figure came out of my recovery because it was the way I attacked my recovery, Jeff. I attacked the step work, helping other people, one random act of kindness a day, never missed a meeting, taking men through the steps. I just attacked it with this just vigor and competitiveness. I in the very beginning, I wouldn't suggest this to people, but it's a part of my personality. I would see people in the rooms with years and years and years, and I would literally think to myself, well, if that motherfucker can do it, I could do it. And I would find heroes. I found men that I could emulate. And it took a few years, but eventually that broke and I didn't have that competitive thing anymore.
Yeah.
And that became a family to me. But, and look, he still, that voice still comes out. The difference between Michael and I is Michael won't pick you up when he knocks you down.
Yeah.
And I had to be, to thine own self be true, they say, right?
Yeah, of course.
If I let you if I let you lay down on the floor, that's not Adam Jablin. That's not me. I pick you back up.
That's pretty awesome. No, that's good. One last thing I'm going to ask you, Adam. In a few words, if you're going to be gone tomorrow, what do you want people to remember you by? If somebody had to describe you.
I hope they would say that Adam was all heart. He gave every inch of himself to you when he was with you. What you saw is what you got. He loved his wife and his kids with everything. But if someone else is speaking, I would want them to say, but he made me feel like that he loved me the same way as he loved them.
That's good. It's a good way to end it. I'm going to, at the end of the podcast, on all the show notes, I'm going to give you guys links to all of Adam's books, contact info, social media, and whatnot. So you want to get a hold of Adam and get to know Adam a bit more. Yeah, this is a surprise of a podcast today. It just had a couple hours open up, and it just popped in, and I'm so glad we did this.
Would you ever be open to doing an IG live?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, great. Yeah, that'd be great.
I think this is going to be a long-term friendship we're going to start building here. So I appreciate you coming on today.
This is the beginning of a beautiful friendship. Goodbye, everybody. Thank you for listening.
That's a wrap for today. I appreciate everybody that took the time out of their busy schedule to give us a listen. Loved having Adam on. What a great person. What a great story. For everyone that would like to get a hold of Adam, I'm going to put in all our show notes, his social media contacts, his website, links to purchase his books. And once again, I want to thank Adam for taking his time out of his busy schedule to be on our podcast. And I can see this being a long journey of a friendship between myself and Adam. So glad to have had him on and glad to have got to know him a little better today. For all our guests and everybody that listens to the show, please give us 5 stars, subscribe to our podcast, tell your friends about our podcast, spread the word. We're trying to build something special here, and we appreciate everybody's support. Till next time, always move forward and have a great week.